Greetings, everyone. It's Matt Houston. You are tuned in to the Collaborative Culture Podcast. Where today we have an amazing guest, Ms. Tristian Carpenter. Our subject today is taking the lead. I'm hearing from the next generation of local and national community leaders on their journey, their challenges, and just some things that they've learned along the way. And so I'm honored to present this interview that I conducted with Tristian Carpenter. She's a beautiful soul, and I'm excited to hear, and I'm excited to be able to facilitate a discussion so that people can learn more about perspective, about purpose, and about just the thought of a younger leader, that younger leader of color that's in this society. So tune in. I can't wait for you to listen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is another edition of the Collaborative Culture Podcast. I am honored to have a special guest today. But first, I want to show you all, I want you to see that we're in a different format. Typically, we are in a studio at the University of North Texas at Dallas, but sometimes we don't have that accessibility. So we decided to record and edit this video on the old school pandemic way, Zoom. I know all of us have seen this Zoom life for the last 2 or 3 years, and we're sick of it. But what I've learned is that this is a really good substitute tool so that we can continue the mission of communicating and building with one another. So thank you all for joining the Collaborative Culture Podcast, virtual style. I have an amazing guest, Ms. Tristian Carpenter. Tristian, good to see you.
Hey, how are you, Professor Mac? So good to see you.
Okay, you hit the professor tag. Now, before we get started, let's talk about our beginnings. So we met a few months ago. And so we met at a block party at South Oak Cliff High School. We actually co-emceed. We had some common friends, but we really built a group of people. It was eye-opening for me to see such young leaders starting to take the helm, starting to invest in the community, like I once did when I had hair on top of my head and not just as my beard. And so it was refreshing to see the young queens and kings doing their thing for the community, and you were part of that. And so I was very impressed by you, by how your spirit carried on throughout that event, whether you were talking to kids that were 4 or 5 years old, or you were talking to their grandparents that were 80 years old. You had this type of energy, this vibe of community, of unity. So one, thank you for that, because you gave me life when we came out of this COVID thing, and that was our first event.
Yes, I want to thank you in turn because honestly, that was my first time ever emceeing anything. And you kept checking me throughout the day to make sure I was good. I was sweating so much I couldn't even see. It might have been the sun, it might have been the nerves, who knows. But we had such a fun time. And I
Well,
remember all we were trying to figure out how we knew each other. And then I had actually messaged.
exactly.
Yeah, we went for Rep. Benton Jones, District
Mhm.
100 representative, but for his investiture. And I remember meeting you in the hallway all day. We
At
were
the
like,
at
what
the
do we know
state
each other?
capitol. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so
Yeah.
funny because the light didn't go off until the end of our, like you said earlier, at the end of our event. And then I realized, wait a minute, I didn't just meet you today. We met a couple months ago, like in August or in April or so, at the Texas Day at the Capitol, when we were in
Mm-hmm.
Austin. So,
Yeah, for
or it was
the same.
January, maybe it was during this
It was,
last legislative session, and you were doing your thing, and that was great to see. So when we're in multiple spaces together, that means we got to be doing something good for the community. So yeah, I forgot about that even on this podcast. So thanks for bringing
yeah,
it back up.
absolutely.
So,
It was such a great day that day, just to kind of watch the process of the legislative process begin, to
mhm.
celebrate people on up into their new posts, and then also to connect with awesome people like you. It was a great day for sure.
Well, appreciate that. And that brings us to who you are, or at least what you represent, and one of the many facets of you. I know you as a community leader, community advocate. You're an abolitionist. You're someone who is seeking to build communities and uplifting our people. But professionally, you are the Chief Community Engagement Officer for Americans Thrive. So tell us a little bit about who you are, who is Tristian Carpenter, and some of the projects that you're doing.
Absolutely. So I'm from Oklahoma City. I actually met you when I was living in Dallas. But like you said, I just recently accepted the post as the Chief Community Engagement Officer for Americans Thrive, which was a huge blessing. That's an organization based in Atlanta. And we do professional development and reentry support for formerly incarcerated people like myself, which that's definitely a big part of my testimony. That's a motivator for me. And that's the reason why I even got into studying the law and became a paralegal in the first place. I'm also the co founder and director of community engagement for my business, Black Tech DFW. And we help people from non traditional backgrounds like my own break into tech. So it's a lot of stuff that I got going on. I'm also working on creating my own nonprofit so I can serve women that have been impacted by incarceration too. So
Wow. See, you're all over, like you're all over the place, impacting people, developing systems so that you're not only going to benefit, but also the people behind you, and that's super admirable. Let's talk about Black Tech DFW because we actually had an interaction last semester in my class where you surveyed a class and spoke to my entrepreneurship students. Hence, you calling me professor at the beginning of this podcast. What was your experience
yes, it was.
there? Yeah, talk to us about your UNT Dallas experience.
So I think UNT is a beautiful campus. The food was really, really good. But no, I had a great time there. Because one of my favorite things about you is that you're always challenging me, especially like when it comes to this. Um, for instance, it was my first time speaking to a group of students that weren't my classmates or my cohort members. And it was really an honor to hopefully impact and inspire people that some of them may be older than me, some of them were just a few years younger than me, but they were all, what they had in common was their pursuit of higher education and then the entrepreneurship that we have in common. So your class was amazing. And I think it was also super timely because we had just recently won a pitch competition from Toyota Financial Services in the Dallas Entrepreneurship Center, $20,000 top prize. And your final for your entrepreneurship students was for them to do a business plan and like a pitch. So we got to show them like, yo, this is what an award-winning pitch looks like. And it was also really, really fun to watch them do their pitches and give some prizes to the winners too. So it was a great day.
Oh, well, you made it great. And so I know the students, I actually saw one of my students from that class yesterday on campus, and he thoroughly enjoyed your business partner's pitch, y'all's feedback. And so yeah, you're just investing in people and in lives wherever you go. That leads me to my next question. What's your engine? What's your why? Like what allows you to do things like this?
My why is the proximity that I have to a lot of rooms that I thought that I would never be able to enter. And the fact that I know, unfortunately, until we free a lot of people that I know personally, they may not be able to take advantage of opportunities, of resources, of education. So to me, every day that I'm free, that's my why. I'm alive, I'm free, and I can do whatever I want to, which in it's as overwhelming as it is empowering, but I would say I would rather have too many options or any options period than have none at all. So I'm very, very motivated by my currently and formerly incarcerated community. I'm motivated by the next generation. I also do a lot of reproductive justice work as a student doula. So just being able to support people through their transitions, whether it be a birth, whether it be coming home from incarceration, whether it be a transition into a new industry like breaking into tech, being able to be there for people and support them so they don't have to do everything by themselves. That's what motivates me. The joy, the energy that I get in return is really what keeps me going.
So you said a lot there. And I know that I have a lot of key I have significant life events that changed the course of my life. I can think of several. One in college, I went through a process in which my partner nearly died, right? And so that changed the course of how I operated. Or I had another significant life event where I lost my dad and my brother within 3 months, right, in 2007. And that changed how I looked at the world. That changed at the energy that I want to put back into my people and the people I care about. And so hearing some of your story, um, tell us how you're able to use those experiences to build your leadership platform today.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges and transitions that I experienced was my reentry from incarceration myself. I wasn't always able to ask for help, and therefore not. I wasn't able to always ask for help because I didn't know what I needed. I wasn't necessarily honest with myself at the time. So if you're going to be a leader and you're going to influence others, you have to be transparent and honest, not only with them but yourself off top. And the ability to share my testimony and share the struggles that I've been through, that let me, well, actually, that encouraged others to let me know, hey, you're not alone. I've gone through this as well. And also, in turn, while I work through those challenges, gain support and then use my testimony to show people that, no matter what you've been through, no matter where you've come from, no matter what mistakes that you have made, you can make it here, you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. So really just not only being a spoken testimony, but a living testimony is one of the biggest things that I could do with my because of those challenges. Because if not, what was it all for?
That's very true. That is very, very true. Who were people? Were there anyone in your life that served as your OG or as your mentor that helped you guide you in that space?
Ooh, definitely my mom, for
Oh,
one.
now
Um,
is she in Denver? She's in Denver now. Like talk. So
oh
talk
no,
to me about like you told me briefly about your family history, your lineage, right? Your father
mhm,
being a very prominent reporter in Oklahoma, and your mom
mhm.
doing things and the creator that she is. Tell us about your upbringing.
Absolutely. So I grew up with my mom. My dad, he's passed away now, Brigadier General Tommy Daniels. He was actually the first Black general officer in the Oklahoma Air National Guard. And yes, like you said, he was a prominent reporter. Actually, he was the first Black news anchor in Oklahoma City back in, I want to say, the 70s.
Wow.
So yeah. So I have greatness coming from both sides. My mom, she's a paralegal like me. I guess
Mm-hmm.
I'm a paralegal like her. But I
You're
can
a
definitely
paralegal
say,
like her. What are you talking about?
yes,
But
period.
this is your podcast, so you say whatever you like.
And you know what's crazy? So she's also an entrepreneur, which is definitely where I get a lot of the aspects of, I guess, of my personality from. Because I can recall being on business trips with her everywhere. And she may have been doing the legal side of things. She may have been doing the actual community engagement that I do. So I remember being at trade shows where she'd be able to, let people know what products we had or positively represent them, but then also handle the LLCs, the taxes, the funding. So it's so much. It's crazy how much I picked up from her without even really noticing, and all the things that I apply now. So she's
Oh,
definitely my OG.
cool, good deal. And I love y'all's energy, how you visit her and then you participating and you just go all over the country. Like you're just an explorer. That's something that we don't do much in my generation. We are a bit more, static, if you will. We travel
Mhm.
occasionally, but we have designated times. Okay, it's around winter. I'm going to spend 5 or 6 days here, come back. We really don't have this gig economy type philosophy where we can just try to find opportunities outside of the a geographical area. And so seeing you put in work in Atlanta or coming back to Dallas or going to Houston or flying or driving to Denver is very refreshing because it seems like you're creating or you're curating experiences that can help you in investing in others. Is that fairly accurate?
Oh, absolutely. I can imagine that it would be harder for you as an educator to, travel outside of the traditional summer and winter break.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that I love about being an entrepreneur is that the world is my office, the world is my community. And yes, I'm impacted by every person that I meet, by the experiences that I've had. I've had the real blessing to be able to go to some different tech conferences like Render ATL or Afro Tech. And what really, besides just the fun, the networking, the free stuff, what really does it for me is seeing all of us that are doing amazing things come together to be able to collaborate and do amazing things like on a massive scale. But also what really touches me is people that I admire and that I look up to, that I meet in these rooms, that they'll hear my testimony or hear the work that I'm doing and say, wow, you're really doing that. And I'm like,
Hmm.
good Lord.
Oh,
So
that's
yes,
it's affirming, isn't it? When you go to
yes,
and
exactly.
when you meet people from other parts of the country or the world that's doing something that's similar to you, you don't feel as alone anymore, right? Because
Mhm,
sometimes this can weigh on you because you're so
mhm.
stuck in your day-to-day chores or your tasks and your progress or your challenges. You don't have the energy. But when you see a couple of people who can give you some pointers or who could just sulk and complain with you over a drink or whatever, it's therapeutic.
It is, and it's very encouraging as well because I know that it's quite the uphill battle to finally abolish actual slavery,
Right.
the prison industrial complex, policing as it exists now. And, and I have a lot of detractors and naysayers. And it's like, I'm trying to free you. Why wouldn't you want to be on my team? So to, be in different spaces with organizers, like especially in Atlanta right now with what's going on in Cop City,
Right.
to know that I'm not the only one fighting for this. I'm not the only one that believes in abolition. I'm not the only one that believes that we can make it change. Yes, it is ancestral work. People have long past before us that have been doing the work. But just to know that it continues. I shouldn't have to continue. We shouldn't have to continue to fight, but just to know that I'm not the only one doing it and that it's not going to stop after me. That really keeps me going.
Good deal. Tell us a little bit about Americans Thrive.
Yes. So I love Americans Thrive. Shout out to my mentor and our CEO and co founder, Dr. Susan Simmons Stevenson. I actually met her when I was in Atlanta, my first time for Render ATL. And one of the things my mom says is you never know who you're entertaining. So that's kind of back to what I said earlier about being honest and transparent about my testimony. When I enter some of these rooms, I may not want to necessarily lead with the fact that I'm a formerly incarcerated person, but that gets every time I do, I bless others and I'm blessed in return. I had no idea about Americans Thrive. I didn't know what she was representing. I didn't know any of that, but I told her the truth about who I am, the work that I do, and she honored me with this position as Chief Community Engagement Officer. So I get the opportunity to tell people about the work that we do, which is what I'm going to do now. We help people that are formerly incarcerated, like myself. We do reentry support, total reentry support, not just, and I don't say just to minimize, because services in general, that's a blessing to have. And they're very, I don't want to say underutilized, but there's just not a lot of them. So as it relates to reentry, it could be housing, it could be professional development, LinkedIn's resumes, getting you the training to be able to, go into these workplaces and support yourself and your family. But my favorite part are I want to, I guess you could call them soft skills, but to me, they're really, really integral skills like communication.
Right.
There are different ways that you can handle things on the yard than in an office. Time management. So it's really full scale services. And we also have a logistics company too, because that is an industry in which a lot of people who may have felonies on their records can definitely work, get their CDLs, etc. And we also do things like community gardening, doing the tech literacy, financial literacy. So once we train you up, get you employment, you'll be able to manage your money. Just full scale services, really for anybody. But I love that they're geared towards formerly incarcerated people like myself.
Wow. And you know what? I applaud you because um, you are doing something and you're creating a system so that people from our community can have a shot in this society, right?
Mhm.
As frustrated as we are, because there's frustrations in every space, you're turning lemons into lemonade so that you can find ways to better improve not only yourself, but those around you and those
Thank you.
abroad. So that, I mean, you're spot on, and the spirit exudes even when we first engaged. I remember when we engaged in Austin. Now I just remember that was a pleasant energy. It was in the afternoon. I was getting tired. We've been at the Capitol the entire day. Well, I was thinking, wow, these young folk kind of gave me a little boost before getting into the car and driving back to Dallas. And so, um, thank you for continuing to show that light, right? Because it can easily be dampened by scenarios, by our stories, by what challenges are faced to us day in and day out. Do you have any advice for younger people that are trying to get in this advocacy space, this community building space, this abolitionist space?
Ooh. So my answer is going to be twofold, and I feel like they relate to each other because, as I said earlier, it is ancestral work. There's a lot of resources that are out there, and living resources, people that can train you in the ways to positively impact your community and work together. Lots of literature, but also like you must vet your sources.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people, they may get caught up in, oh, this is an organization with a lot of funding or an organization that has a big name in the community, but what are they really doing with that funding? Are they really impacting people? Or there are some organizations that have leaders and figureheads who have made names for themselves because that was the goal, and you may look up to this person that you don't necessarily know, but you've heard about them leading this organization or the work that they've been a part of. And I, as a young activist and organizer, I had the misfortune, but also the opportunity to learn from getting sucked into working with a couple different organizations that misrepresented their actual values, or
Mm-hmm.
working with leaders who would capitalize on the fact that I do have the energy, the drive, the desire, and really the passion for this work, and like not compensate me. And then that leads to, or they will play on your emotions and sometimes be like, okay, well, this is what the work takes. Do you not really care about the movement if you're not willing to, kill yourself to work within an organization? So I would definitely say find good leadership, and
Mm-hmm.
then also trust yourself, because there are many times where I was sidetracked because of, oh, this opportunity, that opportunity. But opportunities can be distractions, and if something is not taking you directly towards your goal, it's actually taking you away from it. So trust yourself, because there are organizations I could have started 10 times over in the time that I spent and wasted um, working for other people. And if I could add one more thing, I had the
Yeah,
honor of
take your
seeing
time.
Mr. Harry. Thank you. I had the honor of seeing Mr. Harry Belafonte speak in, I want to say, 2018, back in Oklahoma at the yes, may he rest, Ashe, back at the University of Oklahoma. I remember I begged my mom, can I please use your car to go? And she let me, because she understood how the magnitude of it, because it was, not long after I had been released from incarceration, and was just now getting really introduced to these concepts like abolition work and everything like that. So I'm like, I have to see him. And I remember somebody at the very end asked a similar question to what you asked: what advice would you give to people? And I remember it was right after 45 was installed. So it was pretty timely, because they were like, it's going down. What do we do? And Mr. Harry Belafonte, may he rest, he said, the information is, no, he said, read the greats. He said, read Frederick Douglass, read Harriet Tubman. The information is out there, and no one can keep you from it but you. And then my favorite thing that he said is on my Facebook, is on my Instagram, is in your knowledge resides your liberation. In your knowledge resides your liberation.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That is a mic drop moment right there. Boop. Um, but well, I do. Let me pick the mic up and dust it off real quick because I have one more question. Because one, it was a that was an amazing response in terms of having someone like the legendary Harry Belafonte, who was so talented and could have been much more in Hollywood, could have been much more in the entertainment space, but his beliefs and his passion and his heart for our culture exceeded all of earthly riches, if you will. And so, um, how would you, with that spirit, how would you navigate your life in the next 5 years? Or how would you, in the long term, feel that you have contributed to society?
So in the long term, I really look forward to being able to apply all of the notes from the different experiences that I've had. It's sometimes doesn't make sense to people because they're like, okay, but you're a paralegal, but you do birth work, but you do this, but you do that. I'm also in the foundational training for the prison yoga project right now. So you want to be a yoga teacher, right? But all of those different skills that I've been able to get as far as the advocacy, the legal aid, the reproductive justice, and everything that I'm getting now working with Americans Thrive, I cannot wait to be able to open. Oh, and also I would like to shout out Mr. McHale, Mr. Duke. They have Good Girls Transitional Home in Fort Worth, and they've given me the honor of leading some of their classes. So it is really going to be, it's really my dream. It's really my destiny for me to open my own transitional homes for people coming out of abuse and incarceration, substance abuse issues, and to be able to give them access to all of the best of the best of the services, from the counseling to, like I said, the legal aid, to the self-care, the trauma-informed yoga, the community gardening, so you can learn how to, grow, work the earth, and also feed yourself. Every single thing that I've learned in the past, 28 years, I cannot wait to apply and fully and to be able to serve my community. Also, hopefully by that time, I will be able to represent clients of my own because I'm currently finishing up my criminal justice major and I plan on going to law school as well. I would like to be a civil rights attorney like my mentor, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. We love her.
Nice, nice. And I mean, just hearing you, I just feel that our future is bright. If people like you in your circle have this mindset, we'll be okay. We'll be okay in the future. Our culture can definitely survive, if not thrive. And so, with that being said, do you have a final takeaway you'd like our audience to remember from this conversation?
Hmm. If anything, I would just say that I know, right? I know, right? So I think that the most important thing that I could say to anybody is just to know yourself, know your worth, like the Drake lyrics, right? But if you know your worth, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can compromise you. Nobody can take you off course from your goals or tell you that it's not worth it. And if you know yourself, um, the way that I would put it is I used to get in trouble for talking too much, and now I get asked to speak to people, right?
Mhm.
I used to get told I had too much energy, and now people congratulate me on that energy and that passion that I have in the right direction. So when you know yourself and you can apply yourself in the best possible ways, and you know your worth, and nobody can take that away from you, then you're gonna be fine.
That's awesome. Well, there you have it, Miss Tristian Carpenter, the one, the only. Thank you for spending time with me here at the Collaborative Culture Podcast. Thank you for being my first virtual interview. It was amazing, and I'm looking forward to the continued work that we're going to do in the future.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, for always challenging me, and for just being my friend and my mentor. I really appreciate you.
No problem, Tristan. You have a good one.
You too. See you soon.